And, whoa, look at Magoo. Magoo streaks into the...
Thorpe's got past Gabors. They lock handlebars as they go through, but Thorpe's done.
Here comes Bradshaw to the outside of Bale. He takes over the number 2 position, and Bradshaw is not done.
And a problem off the far side on the starting gates. Somebody tried to jump that gate, and you just can't do it. The early leader is number 3, Eric Gabors, 23 years old. They call him the Kid because he's so small, but he has been a rider of great success.
This is the first time today that a European has looked good here today. Gabors from Belgium, a second-generation rider, getting the good start they all talk about with Andre Malherbe, the 3-time world champion, right behind him.
What a difference from the first race, which was dominated by the Americans. Right now, in the early stages, the opening lap of this one, it is 2 Europeans in front. Eric Gabors, number 3, and Andre Malherbe from Monaco in the 2nd position.
But what I think is so important is that in 3rd is Jeff Ward riding that green bike. Jeff Ward in 3rd. He finished 2nd in the first moto. And Ward, when he gets a good start, psychologically, he's very tough. Ward does not like to run mired up in traffic, but he's got the start that he needs. He's ahead of Ricky Johnson at this point. He's ahead of Ron Lachine, who is in 4th place. So really, Jeff Ward, in some ways, perhaps more than Eric Gabors, who you see in the lead. Perhaps, in fact, Ward has moved into 2nd suddenly. So it is Jeff Ward looking the strongest, Al, in my mind right now.
A much tighter race than we saw earlier today. A word about the course. It is 1 mile long and has varying degrees of dirt texture. Some mud, some very light sand, which is very slippery. Some water puddles on the course, and lots of holes. Gabors in trouble, but holding on. Lots of holes and potholes and pratfalls that can really take the starch out of a driver after 40 minutes. You see Rick Johnson, I believe, has moved up into 4th position.
And I think, really, that Jeff Ward is probably more conscious of where Rick Johnson is, even than of where Eric Gabors, the leader, is. Both of them, my prediction is, in due course, will pass Gabors. You speak about the track. This is the only part of the lap that seems to be dusty at all. You see, look at that beautiful positioning by Ward. They're almost coming together, and Ward just out-finessed Eric Gabors. What a beautiful move. All right, now, the important thing is, of course, Gabors forms a sandwich between Ward, who's going to pour it on as much as he can, and his American pursuers, chiefly Ricky Johnson. Important development here. Ward. Look at that. You see what I mean? Ward made no mistakes like hitting that berm in the first heat at all. So I definitely see Ward as a little bit over his head and hearing the whispering sound of Ricky Johnson closing up on him.
Back live once again in Carlsbad. We are watching the 2nd moto, the 2nd race of the U.S. Grand Prix Motocross Championship. If you finish higher in the 2nd moto, that would be the tiebreaker, Sam, virtually for Ward, who is in front.
Yes, indeed. The point is that if you wind up with a 1st in the 1st moto, a 2nd in the 2nd moto, as Ricky Johnson might if he can't pass Ward, and your rival, in this case Ward, finishes 2nd in the 1st moto and 1st in the 2nd moto, it's the man who finishes higher in the 2nd moto that emerges as the winner. In other words, right now, if the order were to be frozen here, Jeff Ward would win this race overall. So Ricky Johnson, and you see him pursuing here in the 13th minute and beginning to catch up. There'll be 40 minutes of racing and then 2 laps after that. But in other words, Rick Johnson must pass Jeff Ward to be the winner. It couldn't be a more clear-cut situation.
Now behind these two, there's a race between the Europeans who so desperately want to earn as many points as they can on their World Championship Series. But right now, near the top at least, they're being dominated by the Americans, who consider this the course of their backyard.
You watch the different techniques, and there's Jeff Ward on the left of your screen in the green bike. Ricky Johnson catching him slowly. You'll notice the techniques seem different. Ward seems less fluid. One of the reasons for this, he's a much shorter man. Ward very compact, strong physically. Ricky Johnson taller, leaner, looser, and you'll see the difference in their riding styles. And you see, incidentally, that Johnson is closing. I mean, there's no question that although Ward has no rear-view mirrors on that bike, he knows, he hears that other bike already. Right behind him, they're very close.
Johnson right up on the rear wheel of Jeff Ward. One burst of the throttle and he would have been by him, but it is not the time to commit yourself and make a silly mistake. Johnson right up on the back of Ward again as they fly through the air. Over.
Is this in the handling? Another small mistake by Ward. Johnson, whoa, whoa, yeah, that was it. Ward did make a mistake, fatal enough to let Johnson by. How about that?
In the 16th minute with just about 24 minutes of racing to go before the signal to race to strength and prestige and skill.
Well, certainly in terms of endurance and strength, you see we're 22 minutes into this moto, which will run approximately 45 minutes altogether. So we're about halfway through at this point. Certainly in terms of endurance and strength, they are supreme athletes, far more true athlete than the men from Indianapolis or even Grand Prix racing, for example. In fact, I really think of these riders as being less part of the world of motorsport and more part of the world of real athletics. For example, many of them have run in marathons. Some have even run in triathlons. So these are superb athletes.
Okay, they are in shape, and so a final laps is given. Ricky Johnson is back in front. In the first race today, he won it wire to wire. This time it took him 16 minutes to pass a couple of Europeans and his California nemesis, Jeff Ward.
And boy, does he ride beautifully, because I think in this sport, maybe more than any other form of motorsport, the concentration must be 100%. It's so easy to make the slightest error. We saw